Well, thank you, Paige, for the introduction. This is Robert. I've got Curtis Peterson with me today. Curtis?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everybody.
Well, as Paige mentioned, today we're going to have a conversation with, we're very fortunate to have with us the two winners of the 2013 National Manager of the Year contest. Both winners, as you will hear, had remarkable success at their associations, and as managers, their stories should serve as inspiration to all the managers, board members, and homeowners we have listening in today. Well, as we get going, you'll notice a dialog box on your screen. If you've come with a specific question for one of our two panelists that they don't answer in the course of their presentation, or if you have a question that comes to mind, please type it into the dialog box, which Paige will be monitoring. We'll try to answer as many as we have time for, and we'll carve out a little bit of time at the end so we can have some dedicated time specifically for the Q&A. Well, at this time, I'd like to introduce our two speakers today. They're the two winners of the 2013 Manager of the Year contest. Edwin Latalati is the former executive director of the IBIS Property Owners Association, the master association for a community of 1,871 homes, and a recipient of many local and statewide awards. Ed won the award for the On-Site Manager of the Year. Ed was able to provide some significant improvements while his time there at IBIS to training, operations, technology and facilities, and relationships he forged with other communities and, as you'll hear, governmental agencies. And with all this communication, it added greatly to IBIS POA's effectiveness, professionalism, and the services it provides to residents, all without, and here's the key, all without raising maintenance assessments for the last 4 years. Ed's a certified CFCAM and holds the CPP, CMCA, and AMS designations. He's also received a large amount of recognition for his achievements through the state of Florida and throughout the management industry. Ed serves on the CAI Gold Coast chapter, that's one of the CAI Florida chapters, board of directors, and was, as you've heard, and the reason he's with us today, was recently selected as the recipient of the 2013 National On-Site Manager of the Year Award. And also with us, we're very fortunate to have Laura Lazar. She's with Parkside Management in Atlanta, Georgia, and has worked in association management since the year 2000. Laura holds the CMCA, AMS, and PCAM designations. Prior to her time in association management, Laura worked with Rays on the River and the Rio Brava Cantina restaurants as the Vice President of Marketing. So Laura comes with a lot of people skills, and you'll see that in her, or hear that in her presentation today. Active in CAI since 2002, Laura served as the chair for the National Conference Party, Fundraising and Public Relations Committees, and was a member of the Membership and Legislative Action Committees. Laura has been awarded the Leadership Award, Recruiter of the Year for CAI Georgia, Recruiter of the Year for CAI National, and the Rita Kennedy Award. She also serves on her local foster children's board of directors, and we're very proud to have her here today. She was the recipient of the 2013 National Portfolio Manager of the Year Award. And at this point in time, I will now turn the floor over to Laura. Welcome to our session today.
Hello, my name is Laura Lazar, and thanks so much for having me today. I wanted to share my story with you today and possibly give you some ideas of what you might do with a community such that I had, and I'm sure some other communities in the nation are like mine. In 2006, of course, the market went down. We all realized it in 2007, and I had Sterling of Dunwoody. Sterling Dunwoody was supposed to be 5 mid-rise buildings with 48 units apiece. At the time this happened, it was 3 buildings were built out, mostly sold. Building 4 was a shell of a building with no sheetrock, and Building 5 was on slab. It was two-story cement slab, all weedy, just nasty to look at, just not good. Nope, I'm not sure anybody would buy there. So the market dropped out. We couldn't sell. We couldn't go to the developer to get any funding because, of course, he didn't have any money either. So it was a bad time for Sterling. And by 2009 and 2010, the owners tried to work together because we didn't want to raise the dues, but we still needed some services, but we didn't have enough money to cover those services. So all of us met many times to develop some strategies to keep us going during the bad times. We did our own hallway cleaning. We changed our own light bulbs. We cleaned our own clubhouse and fitness room. We even went to Pikes and bought our own flowers. We had building captains that were in charge of schedules. I just happened to live at Sterling, not because for any other reason than I chose to live at Sterling, but I vacuumed hallways for months. So with that, we kind of got together and we wanted to really look at the community and say, oh my gosh, we've got a problem here. Not ever sure we're going to build out. We don't want to look at that building 5 anymore. It is really ugly, and I'm not sure we could have got any more sales. So we got together and we thought of an idea, and this really required all of us to come together and think outside the box. We had a community that was in trouble. We didn't know what to do, but had to come together, and we had great ideas from our owners. And the idea was to please bulldoze Building 5 and make it into a park. We had just got a new school next to us. Of course, mid-rise buildings isn't a really great place for children, so maybe we could hit a new market and sell to people who had children at Sterling if we just gave them a safe place to play. So, of course, that's easy to say, but not easy to do. We had to come up with a marketing plan for all the owners, to get from the owners, to give to the board, to give to the bank, to give to the investors, and say, this is why we think Building 5 should be bulldozed and made into a park. We did that. We came up with a strategy. We gave them the numbers. We thought we could sell more. They could sell more. If we bulldozed, we could sell Building 4 out. We could come together, not raise the dues, just get back on track over here. So we did that. The bank looked at us like we all had green heads at first, but the more we pushed and the more numbers we gave them, they believed in us. They helped us. They bulldozed Building 5. We have such a beautiful park now. We have sitting area with sinks and grills. We have a dog run area. We have a mini theater with electricity at the bottom. We tend to have karaoke night. We have garden plots. We all think that we're gardeners, not really sure, but we have classes and we have a shed and we're trying to grow tomatoes these days. My idea here is, if you look at the next slide where you're now looking at where Building 5 was, you're looking to the right of your picture at Building 4 and to the left of the picture Building 2. We now are looking at what was two-story cement slabs. That's now a beautiful park. Over to the left are our garden plots. Over to the right is our theater, sink, seating. We all use the park, and the thing is that we came together with a sense of community. We now have parties at the park. We have Easter egg hunts for the children. We have Halloween contests. We have an owner here that's in the Atlanta Symphony who speaks with us. She's also an Auschwitz survivor, and she speaks to us about that time. The good news is that of the Building 4, we have sold all but 15 of those units in 1 year since this has been done. So the plan worked, and the plan worked because we all came together, and and we thought of a strategy. If you're given the kind of community that I had, the goal here and the strategy is to just not sit back and say, oh, I can't do anything about this. You can always do something about this. You have to think out of the box, talk to the owners. They live there. They bought there. Their investment is there. Their children come here. We just thought that if we all came together that it would work, and it did work at Sterling, and I'm suggesting to others that this could be done also. This is not so unique as to not be done other places. So I hope that I can help you in some way. If there's any questions, please let me know. And with that, I'll turn this over to Ed now. Ed?
To speak with you today. Laura, thank you so much for such a great presentation, such a great segue into this presentation. Laura mentioned a lot about thinking outside the box in many of the things that she had to encounter in the actions that she had to take in her respective associations. On our particular situation, one of the things that we wind up doing at IBIS is actually thinking outside the wallet. So today I'm going to cover with you a few economic tasks or approaches that we took during these challenging economic services that it has been able to do it without increasing assessments, because though the economy has taken a downturn where the costs for fuel, health care, and equipment continue to increase, there is one thing that members do not want to have increase, and that is their maintenance assessments. We were fortunate enough to take on several strategies that prevented the increase, or did not. We have over 600,000 foreclosure cases in the courts, creates an incredible backlog, which create an absolute task. And we've had cases where 6 years have gone past, and fulfilling those challenging times is taking negotiations with our vendors to the next level. Now, I will tell you, you will not know what you will get from them if you do not ask. So we were sure to ask in these tough economic times to renegotiate with us. We asked them that it necessitated a renegotiation based on the economic situation of the economy, the association, and of course they did not wish to lose the business with our association. And if you're a large-scale association, this works really, really well. But obviously it can work in any level of organization or association. So we asked for a lower price. 90% of our vendors responded, and we renegotiated contract, saving our association a significant amount of money and not having to increase assessments in a particular year. One of the things that we do with any of the services that we contract with, whether they are local or outside of the state, is to waive any shipping or setup costs. Something really easy to ask for, and many times something that they are able to. At one particular order, and you say, well, you know, the $150 or $200 setup fee or shipping costs were waived, and you think, well, that's really not such a big deal. But when you are a sizable association like we are, and you make a numerous or a large amount of orders over a period of time and over a year, it really gets to be a big savings. Same thing with adding extended warranty or service contracts at no charge. But sometimes you want to do it even if they're not going to provide it to you at no charge. Depending on the piece of equipment or the item that you are purchasing, it may be worth getting an extended warranty on that particular item. I suggest it very much on vehicles, especially since if you have an in-house operation for maintenance or security, it's something that really pays for itself very quickly. Moving on to another level of negotiation is asking competitors for prices to compare. There are many companies out there that provide this for community associations and managers specifically, that make it really, really easy to be able to get comparable bids. The bidding process sometimes is not easy, but there are many services out there, including online, that are able to provide the best possible price for that 1 year and that first year, and then request that they extend it and give us a contract for 3 years. Why not? At this particular point in time, things are probably not so locked in a price that you're able to keep and extend for 3 years, and knowing what you have to budget for on your training. If you are again, whether you're a small association or a large in-house operation, training your supervisor is absolutely cost-effective and very, very efficient. We trained our officers, particularly in our public safety and security department, who have to go through annual and sometimes twice a year certifications, whether it's in firearms, defensive tactics, and a number of other areas. Very costly when you have to outsource a company to send your staff to or bring them onto the property. We trained our employees as instructors, and they're able to do that year after year at just one cost, which is the initial training phase. At the same time, look for low-cost training opportunities online. Now, this is not just for the security professional, but for your maintenance personnel as well. There are safety training seminars and webinars that take we also made other individuals in our maintenance department, in our pest control area, instructors, so that they could also certify other employees rather than sending them out to an outside agency, which can be very costly. And at the same time, approach your governmental entities and your local CAI chapters for training. Though governmental entities such as fire departments and police agencies are on hiring freezes, and they are cutting back on some of what they consider the non-essentials or non-essential services to the community, approach them for the training that you're accustomed to. Ask them for the training materials and tell them that you will help them get the training out to your own community by doing it yourself. They will be very, very happy to assist you, because it is one less thing that they have to take on. It is very important to also assess your operation to get the most out of your resources, whether it's your personnel, your equipment, or your services. How is your staff and equipment used? Because you may have an in-house operation does not necessarily mean that you have to take on every task, especially if it's not going to be cost efficient or cost prohibitive. For instance, we had to trim a very tall hedge, which extended for miles, which was our perimeter hedge. Very costly for the simple fact that OSHA would not require employees to trim, or would not allow for employees to trim anything over 10 feet in height, so we had to outsource and outcontract for companies to do that. Well, we wound up replacing the entire hedge ourselves, saving us a considerable amount of money year after year. So that was an assessment of our equipment and our staff and how we use it, and how in the long run we can save some funds. At the same time, it's important to react to quickly to unexpected issues, because as you know, if you do not react to a maintenance issue, it's simply going to get worse, and it will cost you double or triple what it normally would if you had reacted to it and addressed it in a very quick fashion. At the same time, increasing income opportunities. Because you are a not-for-profit entity does not mean that you cannot make money or raise funds for your association. One of the big operations that we took on was landscape maintenance and installations that we began to provide for incredible revenue generator. We provided a number of handyman services, landscape installation, landscape lighting installation, pest control. incredible revenue generator for us. It certainly supplemented our budget greatly. It helped in not increasing assessments for 4 consecutive years. But of course, as you see at the bottom of the slide, consult your accounting professional, auditor, and attorneys before taking on any of these endeavors. Technology can also be used as a cost-saving tool, and this for us was an unintended consequence as far as revenue generation is concerned. We use a traffic monitoring device alongside our public safety officers that are all radar certified and issue citations themselves. Well, we also use the unmanned video radar technology that is able to capture speeding violations throughout the community. It has a special software which is able to generate the violations, which then get mailed to the violators of the speed enforcement or the speed limit within the community. And in 1 year alone, we raised $25,000 in revenue from these speeding violations within the community. Now that is considerable and certainly not something that we necessarily planned on, and it's not intended to be a revenue generator, but rather to train our residents to obey the speed limit and maintain that safety and harmony within the community. One of the ways that we sell this is that we explain to them that the fines that they are paying and the funds that comes into the association, it's really them paying themselves. It does not leave the community, it goes right back into the budget, and it turns around and it just provides further services to the community. Another thing which is important to do is deciding between in-house and contract services. You know, again, because you have the ability to take on a certain task does not necessarily mean that you should be doing it. Pest control. We decided to certify our employees in pest control because the cost of the chemicals is so insignificant. We decided to take our staff through the training, get the licensing ourselves, rather than pay an outside pest control company, you know, that has a significant markup for the services that we can easily provide. You know, again, in other areas, we would have to outsource, again, such as trimming certain palm trees that are over a certain height. Rather than buying that equipment ourselves, we'll contract an outside company to do it. So you really have to take each item in each case and assess it individually as to which one is going to work best, rather than making a policy decision as far as how you're going to handle a particular maintenance issue within the community. Now, recovering delinquent income, very important topic for all associations and our managers. Again, big backlog in Florida for foreclosure cases, delays a lot of the funds that are to come into the association. Well, we chose to do a rental agreement, an addendum with all property owners and renters. If the property was ever to go into delinquency, or the property owner is, the renter is to pay the rent directly to the association. That is now law in the state of Florida. We also suspend common area use as well as the ability to enter the community in the automated express lane. So we turn off their laser barcode or their clickers or remote that opens the gates and must come into the visitor lane and identify themselves. Huge inconvenience, as well as we've gone to the level of restricting guests' access into the community for those that are, again, in delinquency with the association. This was a biggie, and it creates a big embarrassment factor, and thus a lot of individuals were ready to pay their assessments, and in our community, assessments were reduced to literally 2% of the entire community. Another nice thing is going into the services of a collection agency as opposed to an attorney, simply because you can get a good service from the collection company, or the same services an attorney may provide, and not have the same level of charges. Collection company does it for us practically free of charge. The charges get added to the resident who is delinquent, who they are pursuing on our behalf, as opposed to an attorney who would charge for every single letter, every piece of mail, every contact that is to take place with the resident. That's my presentation. This was presented to CAI at the CAI National Conference in San Diego in April, and those that attended would have the ability to see that further in depth as a benefit. But thank you, and at this time I will turn it over to Robert.
Well, thank you, Ed, and thank you, Laura. When I first read their presentations, I was impressed by how these two did not just sit and deal with the circumstances that that were presented to them. These are two people who saw the future, saw possibilities, and as Laura described, she thought out of the box, and as Ed described, he thought outside the wallet, doing great things, new things, wonderful things for their communities. And it's such a pleasure to have them with us today and tell a little bit about what they've been able to do. So I hope everyone has found some inspiration or ideas or motivation to go out and do something to make your association a better place. So from my heart to Ed and Laura, thank you very much for joining us. I want to briefly mention the origin of Ed and Laura. It was the 2013 Manager of the Year contest. We rate it as a great success in that it found a number of finalists, and from those finalists we were able to get the two winners, and through that it was all a fun, fair, and independent contest. You didn't have to buy anything, be a member of anything to participate, and it was designed to recognize and reward the hard work and dedication of managers out there across the country. We are looking for managers just like Ed and Laura who distinguish themselves through impressive acts of leadership, organization, resourcefulness, and problem solving. And we believe that Ed and Laura fit that description perfectly, and we're so proud to have them with us today as winners of the inaugural Manager of the Year contest. Ed, Curtis, do you have anything to add at this time to the some words about the contest?
Yeah. I just want to mention that the contest consisted of 3 stages, and the last stage being an online vote, which the inspectors of election administered. And during the 30-day online voting period, over 11,000 votes were cast, which I found was a very impressive number. I also want to applaud Ed and Laura for sharing their inspirational stories and encourage all managers listening to apply for next year's contest at the end of this year.
Well, thank you, Curtis. And before we finish here, I'm going to turn it back over to Paige, where Paige is going to ask a couple more poll questions. Paige?
All right. Thanks, Robert. 2 quick poll questions. Here's the first one. Did you apply, or do you know someone who applied to the National Manager of the Year contest? Go ahead and make your selection. Okay, great. Looks like most of you did not apply. And we'll go ahead and go into our second poll question. Do you know someone who would like to nominate, or do you know someone you would like to nominate for next year's contest? Go ahead and make your selection. All right. Kind of all over the board with this one. Thank you so much for participating. And I'll go ahead and turn it back to Robert.
Great. Thank you, Paige. Well, if you need election services for your association, please go to theinspectorsofelection.com. As you heard, running a contest of this magnitude, a national contest, would have been impossible without the technology and the ease, the just take it and go ability that they were able to bring to the contest. And if you're in need of a reserve study proposal, of course, or have some follow-up reserve study questions at any time, please visit the Association Reserves website at www.reservestudy.com. At this point in time, I am still thinking about the inspiring ways that we've heard that you can create great communities. So the management profession is not just about taking the association and keeping them from falling apart. The management profession can be something where you inspire community. You create new things, create a community that's even better than was handed to you. And I just hope that through webinars like we have today and future years of the Manager of the Year contest, We're able to inspire other people to dream bigger dreams and to tackle a big project and do just absolutely wonderful things and raising the standard of managers across the country. We have a few questions, I believe, so at this point in time, I'll turn the floor back to Paige, and with the time remaining, have her act as moderator for the questions that you've typed in. Paige, back to you.
Thank you, Robert. As I mentioned earlier, you can ask Ed and Laura questions about their inspiring stories, or you can ask one of our hosts a question about the National Manager of the Year contest by typing your question into the question box at the bottom of your control panel. Please remember to include the name of the person to whom your question is directed toward. All right, and our first question is from Brian, and I think it is for Ed. How can we contact a collection company to help us with delinquent homeowners?
Well, thank you, Brian. Depending on what state you are in your community association, really there are a number of collection services that are usually provided. Again, state laws control their ability to be able to collect certain types, contact a number of collection agencies, but I would not really have a conversation with them over the phone. I would invite them onto your property and have them propose to you, or you explain to them what services you're looking for, how you are looking for those services to be provided, as well as how they would pursue a delinquent homeowner into the collection of the delinquent assessment. But again, really state laws control that, from state to state as far as how they're able to do that. But I would just contact any collection agency and explain to them that you're looking for services specifically for a community association.
All right, thanks, Ed. The next question is for Laura. What is your go-to advice for an association that is under extreme financial stress?
Well, that's an excellent question because I manage 24 communities. 12 are under developer controls that are just digging out right now, and 12 that are homeowner controlled that still have the same problem. I think the idea is to first go back to Ed because he had a whole lot of great ideas about saving money. But then the next thing is I always go to the reserve study. The reserve study is Bible to me, and every one of the communities that I have that. The idea is to look at the contracts that you have, save money where you can, cut the services if you must. Get community involvement to help you because they understand this is their investment. And by all means, then just save and do what the reserve study tells you to do. It's hard. I know it's hard because we're just digging out. But yesterday, I'm sure most of you saw, home prices are up 7%. We're selling. We're building again. At least we are in Atlanta. I suspect we are everywhere. So it's really a short-term strategy because it will get better. But for right now, it's really just dig in and see where you can save the money. Just do the most important things first.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Next question is for Ed. Brian would like to know what type of specific technology was used to track speeders and issue tickets without having a person present to issue a ticket.
Well, sure. The technology we used was a device called the Traffic Hawk. It is a device that was developed by ISN Security Networks out of Riviera Beach, Florida. And they created this device to be able to record in video speeders in any particular road that you set this particular piece of equipment on. It's able to work concurrently with a radar unit that is inside of this particular device. So it is recording video, it is sending out radar signals. So as a vehicle is passing the unit, it simply records the violation of the vehicle, which our officers can then later retrieve through the software and issue the appropriate citation, which gets mailed to them. But the unit is called the Traffic Hawk. If you Google it, I'm sure you'll be able to find it from ISN Networks.
Thanks, Ed. The next question is for Laura. Do you spend a disproportionate amount of time on the association in your presentation? That looked like it was a lot of work.
Well, no, I don't think so. With 24, I'm a pretty busy little girl. I worked on Sterling because Sterling had the biggest problem that I had during the downturn. So I worked on that one and took the strategy of communication and community involvement to all my other associations and still do today. So I think the answer to that is likely no, because the strategy works everywhere.
Great, thanks, Laura. Next question is for Ed. Did you have to change any bylaws or have voted upon by members?
For which particular approach?
That's a good question.
Yeah, you know, if you're referring to the level of sanctions that we took for the delinquent assessment collection in regards to suspending the barcode common area usage, as well as preventing guests from coming in, yes. Some were already provided by the statute, such as the suspension of the common area usage. But when it came to come onto their property to visit them, yes, that took some legal counseling, and it took a resolution of the board to be able to make that happen. It did not take a vote of the community.
What about the speeding?
For the Traffic Hawk, it's simply an adoption by the board. Again, everything is dictated by the governing documents. So if your documents already give your board the ability to enforce speed within your community, then pretty much anything that you do to enforce that speed is an ability that the board has simply by voting at a board meeting to employ that particular technology or tactic to enforce the speeding rules.
Great, thanks, Ed. Next question is for Laura. Have you continued to do the service work, such as changing light bulbs and cleaning the hallways internally, or do you reevaluate your financial state after a certain time and rehire those workers?
Well, what we did at Sterling is once we did the work ourselves for a very long time, but then once we started selling and things were improving, we got the contractors back, put them under contract, and the only thing we do now ourselves is some of us like to go to Pikes and plant our own spring flowers, and we do that out of choice now.
All right, next question is for Ed. What fraction of revenues come from homeowner assessments?
Well, for the last 3 to 4 years, we have undertaken a number of revenue-generating services and sources, which have certainly supplemented our budget, which has helped us not increase assessments for 4 years consecutively. It's still kind of in the beginning stages after just 3 or 4 years. So 25% of the budget is supplemented by this revenue stream from the services that we provide, while 75% is revenue from assessments collected from the homeowner.
All right. Next question is also for you, Ed. What prevents the traffic cop from being stolen or vandalized?
Well, the Traffic Hawk actually comes with a, it's actually camouflaged, so an individual is not able to see it until after they pass it, which is too late at that point. The violation is recorded. But an individual that may see it from a different direction and know that it's there is not able to steal the unit because the unit is actually locked and chained to a post, a permanent post, or to the trunk of one of the huge trees or a palm tree where they're not able to just walk away with this Traffic Hawk. But wherever the Traffic Hawk is also deployed, there is a separate camera hidden somewhere that cannot be seen that is monitoring that traffic hawk. To this day, we've had no issues with the traffic hawk after having it deployed for 3 years, simply because we're watching.
All right. We have time for one final question, and it's for Curtis. Curtis, you mentioned that the online vote was stage 3 of the contest. What were the other 2 stages?
Well, the first stage was gathering online applications for on-site and portfolio managers. And from that, an algorithm-based ranking system determined the top 100 finalists, 50 on-site managers, 50 portfolio managers, from hundreds of applications received nationally, who were then invited to enter the second stage of the contest, which was the photo essay. And stage 2 had specific submission requirements, and the eligible submissions in each category were judged to determine the ultimate top 3 finalists in the on-site and portfolio category. Now these 3 finalists in each category were then entered into the third and final stage of the contest, the online voting.
Great, thanks Curtis. And thank you everyone. That concludes our webinar. If anyone is interested in a recorded version of this or any other webinar, you can search for them on YouTube or find them on the Association Reserve's website, www.reservestudy.com. If you would like to receive our monthly newsletters or receive announcements of future webinars, please visit our website and select the Join Our Mailing List icon. As you exit this webinar, a survey will display. If you could help us out by completing this survey, we'll be happy to email you an outline of the PowerPoint that was displayed during this webinar. I want to thank you all for attending. If you have any questions or if there's any way we can be of service to you, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you again. Goodbye.